Hello and welcome to my review of Sid Meier's Civilization VI, the long-awaited sequel to Sid Meier's Civilization V. First of all, I would like to give some information to you all that is not really important but might be important to some of you. I have not played any of the Civ games prior to Sid Meier's Civilization V. So I won't be comparing Civilization 6 or 5 for that matter to any of the other Civilization games. I might as well tell you now that this video is not really a review where I'm going to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10 or 1 to 5 or A to F. I'm going to simply give you guys a little bit of a look of the game and commentate on some of the information that I found important in the game and compare it to Sid Meier's Civilization 5. The primary reason for this video, for most of you guys, is just to kind of look at the graphics, and hopefully the information I provide will give you a little bit of an insight on why you should buy this game, because I'm telling you now, you should definitely buy this game, especially if you like Civilization 5. There's going to be a lot of differences between the graphics and the way the game is laid out, but there are a lot of similarities. Let's jump right into it. The first thing you're going to notice is a much different main menu. At first I thought it was kind of plain and didn't have as many options as Civ 5, but then I go back and look, Civ 5 didn't have that many options either, so there's nothing really to complain about here. There are many new civilizations. If you watch some of the videos, you can see some of the many new characters. I noticed one character at least that is the exact same as the previous game, and that is Gandhi. The rest of them are completely new. As you can see, I am looking through them and looking at all the traits. But that's not important in this review. If you would like to see important information and detailed information on each leader in Civilization, please let me know, and we'll do that in another video. For the purposes of this video, I selected Teddy Roosevelt, the leader of the American Empire. And as you can see, the difficulties are all very much the same. A new difficulty setting I noticed was online, which, as you can see, this is a single player game I am playing now, but that option is there, which apparently is even quicker than one of the quickest game paces. As you can see, I was slightly disappointed. There are only, as you can see on the screen, a very small number of map types. I'm assuming they will add more and maybe in DLC. If not, I'm sure the modded community will make up for that, but I was kind of disappointed about that. There is an advanced option as you create your game. As you can see, you can set domination victory, religion victory, science victory, score victories, and cultural victories, just as before. You can also mess with the map sizes, temperature, rainfall, sea level, resources, and start position, just like in the original game. A difference you can see here, there are tribal villages. These are actual villages that the barbarians have, which is really cool compared to the original. Now, one thing that I absolutely love is this voiceover who narrates the game. Please listen.
Steps, you have come far. Now begins your greatest quest. From this early cradle of civilization on towards the stars. And so it is upon your broad shoulders.
How about that, people? The guy who narrates all of the character intros, all of the research achievements, and everything else in the game, just like the previous one did in Civilization 5, is Sean Bean from many famous movies, Lord of the Rings, also known as Boromir, and then of course Eddard Stark from Game of Thrones. Absolutely amazing voice. Does a fantastic job with all of the narration. The first thing you'll notice when you enter the game, you're given the choice of New to Civilization or New to Civilization 6. You pick the tutorial from the beginning in the main menu. So when you jump into the game here, you're given this option, so you can either get help if you don't even know the series at all, or you can pick just New to Civ 6, so tips for Civ 6 specifically will come up. If you don't know the game at all, you can pick the other option, and boom, you're ready to play even if you've never played Civ 5. or any of the other civs for that matter. So the first thing you will notice about this game, compared to Civ 5, everything is very cartoony looking, and the fog of war looks like the brownish looking paper from historical documents, paper that is aged for hundreds of years, which I think is really cool. As you can see there, the settler I used to create the city of Washington, it had a larger field of view, and the northern part of the fog of war, as it just went away, and as you saw that unit move down, that's how the fog of war changes. It's like the paper is burnt away, and you're now able to see what you can see. I wasn't so sure I was going to like this cartoon effect. It reminds me a lot of Warlock, Master of the Arcane, but it's not that game. It's very much Civ, very much. Almost everything from Civ 5 is here. And here in a moment, I'm going to get into the technological tree, and I'm going to actually, when I first look at it, be kind of disappointed. And the reason for that being, there are a few things that look like it's missing. It's not necessarily missing, but it's spread out much more than the other technological tree was. But one of the main things that I see that are missing are the giant death robots, which maybe, just maybe, it's hidden in there somewhere, because there are so many different options, so many different things to click on, and there's so many different things besides the technological tree. We're going to get into that here in just a minute. And the reason I say it's hidden is because there are more trees. The civics tree here is its own tree and branch that you have to research. So technically, there's not just one research tree. There are multiple, or at least two important ones. There are other smaller trees in the game, so I can't say there's only two, but these are the two major ones. The research tree is the one that's very, very familiar to most people who have played Civ 5, or at least familiar to me. All of the important stuff from the old tree are on there. There's just a few things missing, and you might find them here in the civics tree. The really cool thing I notice here is the civics tree is what's going to determine what kind of government you have. Instead of waiting further in the game where you have to build factories and get into the modern era and you just choose one of three types of government, you actually go along the civics tree here and you will kind of form your government as you go along based upon your choices. For example, here is the list of all the governments that you could possibly have in the game. The one on the left, chiefdom, that's what every civilization starts as. But through the civics tree and many other choices you make, you can have any one of these governments. Autocracy, classical republic, oligarchy, monarchy, theocracy, merchant republic, communism, democracy, fascism, it's all there. And you form it over time. And the religion system in the game is going to be very similar. Religions no longer are just created randomly. You will select your religion very early on in the game, which I'm assuming many countries will get to make their own religion. I'm sorry I can't say if you're limited at this point to how many religions there are in the game, but what I do know is that the religions, once they start to intermingle, they do not just dominate the other. There's always an intermingling of the religions, and they will eventually kind of work their way a lot like history has worked. As in Catholicism, before, Protestants were nowhere even allowed to practice, and they formed their own religion kind of from Catholicism. Another thing to note in the game, road construction is no longer important. Basically, everything is dictated by trades. You will establish trade routes between your city and other cities and other civilizations. Those trade routes become roads, and that's how your roads are created. So you do kind of have control over how roads are made. It just depends on the terrain and where you place your other city or where the other cities are located. So that's another kind of important thing to keep in mind whenever you are trading with other countries. Keep in mind you're creating a road between them. So if you're planning to be hostile with them, it's not a good idea to trade with them because you're going to give them a road right up to your front door to attack on. And let's talk about raiders. Something very cool I discovered in the beginning of the game, whenever you decided if they're going to be barbarians, and that's what I mean by raiders. Barbarians in the game now actually have their own settlements, and they don't exactly protect them, and they're not really settlements. But at the beginning, below the raiders option, there were tribal settlements, or whatever that was exactly. Those are basically where the raiders are from, where they're going to continue to populate. And believe me, if you don't take care of them quickly, they will populate very quickly, and you have a ton of raiders to deal with. Another cool thing about the raiders, though, they're not only just raider barbarians, like warrior units. They're also scouts. They're out scouting the area, and then they send units to come attack you. Very shortly, as you can see in this game, my units are far off to the south. Barbarians to the north are currently scouting me out, and not too long from this moment, they send down 3 warriors and slingers to attack my settlement that has no warriors there to defend it. And now that I've mentioned slingers, I also want to mention that, obviously, this is the very beginning of the game, and normally in Civ 5, you would not get any kind of ranged unit until you researched archery. Well, now you do have a ranged unit. Of course, it's not going to be around very long, because you can still research archery here in Civ 6 and have archers, but it's kind of cool that you can still build slingers at the very beginning without actually having to research archery, and you have a very early on ranged unit in the game. Another really cool thing along with the civics I want to mention, not only does the civics kind of influence, not really kind of, they do influence your government, there's also those civics, each civic you research, it has one of those little markers next to it and all kinds of different benefits by them. Once you actually research those civics, a list of those are going to show up to the right of this panel in your government, and you can put those policies that you got from those civics into play. As you can see right now, I can use 1 military policy and 1 economic policy. I have a total of 4 available. You drag them over, those benefits become effective within your civilization as soon as you do so. And every time you research a new civic, you get new cards. As you can see here, I still have 3, and you can change these policies anytime. Like if I don't want that economic policy I just placed, I can drag it out anytime and put in one of the new policies I have researched, which is really cool. So apparently, as you can see in this, you have more control during a crisis situation. Let's say you have a policy set that's only giving you a faith bonus and science bonus, but all of a sudden you have like an economic crash and you need to put a policy in that's going to give you money. You can do that now. So that's a huge benefactor. An important building factor to the game now, though, is the fact that not only can you build tile improvements such as farms and mines and factories, there are now districts that you can build which have bonuses and allow you to build more things within certain tiles of the city. And now that I've mentioned construction of the game, I want to mention some of the changes to your workers. In the other game, you had workers that went around and improved the tiles, and you always have workers around. Now, when you build a tile improvement, you lose a worker. There are 3 whenever you make them. They're a unit, just like your military and all the other scouts and whatnot. But when they are produced, they're a unit of 3. Once you put down a tile, 1 goes away. And you can move them around and keep them as long as you want. You have no time limit to use them. But once you build something, it uses up one of the workers. And then you're going to have to build more workers, which is kind of a bonus compared to the old game, because in the old game, you had to wait forever to build things that are important. Now, you just make workers. There are 3 in a unit, and they slap the buildings down instantly. Now, as for whenever you run into other civilizations, just like in the other game, when one of their units run into you or vice versa, they show up, they give their mighty old speech, and then you're given, I don't know if it's the same for every civ, but you are given 2 options in this case. Basically, you could choose, you can have them come to your city and offer your hospitality, or just tell them to go away and leave you alone, and basically I'm assuming those have repercussions or positive effects depending on what you choose. I would assume you would want to be friendly in all cases, otherwise you're going to have everyone hate you. But it's kind of neat that you can actually choose to have them either, say, hey, I just met you, come on over, or get the hell away from me, and start off a very negative relationship right off the bat. Now, as for the options when it comes to talking with other civs, I'm assuming many more options will open up whenever more technology is revealed. But it's really kind of cool. You actually have to find out information about them. As you can see, you can look at many different things, such as access level, which currently I have none on them. Our relationship, neutral. Agendas, they have one known as Last Viking King, which actually gives him a bonus towards his civilization. And then there's one we don't know. It also gives their level of government. You can declare friendship. You can send delegation, which is basically just sending them gold to kind of kiss their butts and make them like you. You can make deals, and you can even declare a surprise war, which I'm assuming is the same as just declaring war, because that option was the only option for war. And it also showed you if it would have any effects for warmongering, which was so annoying in the old Civ game. As you could tell, it had no effects, so I'm assuming there are new actual factors in declaring war and ways you can kind of work around that stupid warmongering status. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hoped you enjoyed this review. Not super in-depth of the game, very early on, basically just to kind of give you guys a taste of what the game is like, how it's similar to Civ 5, how it's different, what's better, what's worse. In my overall opinion, nothing is worse. It's very different, that indeed, but I have to say, I've never played any of the Civs before Civ 5, and I've only seen, screenshots of the old Civs, and they all looked so much different compared to Civ 5. Civ 5 was a huge eye-opener in the eyes of graphics. I mean, it was amazing. So obviously, there's so much they can do, only so much they can do, to change the graphics of the game. And now, it almost like my friend said earlier, it looks kind of cartoonized, but that is kind of a neat look for it, and who wants the game to look exactly like it did before? It would just be the same game. So I think we've got hours upon hours of entertainment here. I've got so many hours logged onto Civilization 5 myself, over 600 hours live whenever I'm online, and there could have been times when I wasn't even connected to the internet and they couldn't possibly track it. So tons of hours of gameplay to be had here, folks, and I'm pretty sure you guys are going to like it. Like I said, I'm not actually reviewing this game, but I am saying it's a good one, so hopefully you will want to buy it. Thank you all so very much for watching. If you liked it, please make sure to hit the like button. If you have any comments, please feel free to comment in the comment section below. And especially if you want to see more videos like this, let me know. And subscribe to my channel. That way you will be informed when I upload new content, and you won't miss out on anything. Thank you all very much. I'm Jerry, and I'll see you all again really, really soon.